Life is a storm. It is a river that twists and bends, carrying us into waters we never expected. Some days are golden, wrapped in the softness of morning light, and others feel like the weight of the world has settled on our shoulders. There are moments when the air is too thick to breathe, when the walls press in close, and the road ahead disappears into shadows. In those moments, when the burden is heavy and the night stretches long, we search for something bigger, something stronger, something unshakable. But here's the thing about storms. They are loud, they are wild, they are merciless, and yet they are temporary. The river may rage, but it never forgets where it is going. The night may stretch deep, but the sun has never failed to rise. There is something greater than the chaos, something mightier than the mountain in your way. And that something, it does not tremble in the face of hardship. It does not bow to despair. It does not shrink beneath the weight of your worries. Now, lean in close. Listen with your heart, not just your ears. Because what I am about to tell you isn't just words. It isn't just a speech. It is a truth so big, so boundless, that if you let it in, truly let it in, it will change everything. There was a woman once, a woman who had seen the world break apart before her eyes. She had walked through fire, and the fire had left its mark. She had been bent, bruised, and brought low. But one day, when the storm raged the hardest, she lifted her chin, squared her shoulders, and whispered into the wind, "You are strong, but I am stronger. You are big, but I am bigger." And just like that, the storm knew. It knew it could howl, but it could not shake her. It could rage, but it could not move her, because she was standing on something greater, something that could not be moved. I want you to see this in your own life. I want you to picture that problem, the one that keeps you awake at night, that bill that won't pay itself, that heartbreak that still lingers in the air, that voice in your head that says you are not enough, not strong enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. I want you to gather all those worries, all those fears, and lay them before you. Look at them, face them. Now, hear me when I say this. They do not define you. They do not own you. They are not bigger than what is within you. There is a power in knowing that what you are facing is not the end of you. Trouble is loud, but truth is louder. Pain is sharp, but perseverance is sharper. Worry may knock at your door, but strength is the one who answers. And strength does not bow. People will tell you to be realistic, to be careful, to be afraid. They will tell you that the mountain is too steep, that the ocean is too wide, that the road is too long. But what they do not see, what they cannot understand, is that you were built for this. You were made for more than crumbling under the weight of your troubles. You were made to rise. There is something inside of you that refuses to be defeated. Have you ever noticed? No matter how many times life has tried to knock you down, you are still here. No matter how deep the wounds, you have kept moving. There is a fire in you that refuses to be extinguished, a light that will not dim. And that is no accident. The world will press, but you will not break. The night will come, but so will the dawn. And when you find yourself standing at the edge of your strength, when you think you cannot take another step, I want you to remember this. The storm is not bigger than the one who faces it. The mountain is not greater than the one who climbs it. And the problem before you, it will not last forever. There was a man once, a man who had lost everything, his home, his family, his future, gone in an instant. The weight of the world sat on his chest, pressing. But one morning as the sun rose, he stood up. His legs shook, his hands trembled, but he stood because something in him knew, it knew that there was more. more than his loss, more than his pain, more than his past. And so he took one step and then another. And with every step, the weight grew lighter. With every step, the fear lost its grip. And when he reached the other side, he turned back, looked at all that he had walked through, and he smiled. Not because it had been easy, not because it had been painless, but because he had made it. You will make it too. I need you to believe that. I need you to hold on to that with both hands and refuse to let it go. The world will try to tell you who you are. It will try to shrink you, to silence you, to make you believe that your problems are bigger than you. But you are not small. You are not weak. You are not alone in this. You have faced trials before. You have walked through fire before. And yet, here you are, breathing, standing, rising. That is not by accident. That is not by chance. That is because you were built for this. So the next time the storm comes, the next time the night stretches long, the next time the weight of the world presses heavy on your chest, I want you to do something. I want you to straighten your back. I want you to lift your chin. I want you to stand tall and speak truth into the wind. You are strong, but I am stronger. You are big, but I am bigger. There was a child once, a child who grew up in a world that told her no before she even had the chance to say yes. A world that placed heavy chains around her spirit before she knew she could fly. And yet there was something in her, a whisper, a force, a knowing that would not be silenced. The world threw shadows over her path, but she kept walking. The world built walls, but she learned to climb. The world told her she was small, but she knew better. And so she rose, inch by inch, step by step, until one day she looked back and realized the chains had never truly held her. The walls had never been taller than her will. And the darkness had only made her light shine brighter. You have felt that weight, haven't you? That pressure pushing against your chest, making it hard to breathe, hard to stand, hard to move. You have known what it is to carry burdens so heavy they threaten to break you in half. You have seen nights so long you forgot what daylight felt like. But here's what they don't tell you. The longer the night, the brighter the morning. The heavier the weight, the stronger the one who carries it. And oh, my dear, you are strong. You are mighty. You are not made of glass ready to shatter. You are made of stone, carved by the hands of resilience itself. There will be times when you stand at the edge of yourself, looking down into the unknown, afraid to take the next step. The road ahead will be covered in fog, thick and unrelenting, whispering that there is no way forward. But the truth is, you do not need to see the whole road. You do not need to understand every turn, every twist, every obstacle ahead. You only need to take one step, and then another, because the road always appears beneath the feet of those who dare to walk it. You have made it this far. That alone is proof that the fire inside you burns stronger than the storms around you. You have known pain, but you have also known healing. You have known loss, but you have also known love. You have known fear, but oh, you have also known courage. And courage, my love, is not the absence of fear. No, courage is looking fear in the eye and saying, you do not own me. Courage is standing tall in the face of the impossible and daring to believe in something greater than what you see. They will ask you how you keep going. They will wonder where your strength comes from. They will look at you with wide eyes, unable to understand how you are still standing after all you have been through. And you will smile because you know something they do not. You know that the weight of your troubles has never been greater than the power inside you. You know that no mountain is too high, no river too wide, no valley too deep for the one who refuses to give up. I have seen warriors in quiet places, I have seen battles fought in silence, behind closed doors, in the depths of the heart where no one else can see. I have seen people carry grief like a stone in their chest and still find the strength to rise in the morning, to press forward, to love again, to try again. And if that is not power, I do not know what is. If that is not proof of something greater than the darkness, then nothing ever will be. There will be moments when you feel alone, when you wonder if anyone sees, if anyone knows, if anyone understands the depth of what you are facing. But listen to me, there is nothing you carry that has not been carried before. There is no battle you fight that has not been fought before. And you are not alone. There is a thread that connects all who have walked through fire and come out the other side. You are part of something bigger than yourself, something vast and unbreakable. And when the world tells you to shrink, to bow, to break, I want you to remember who you are. I want you to stand taller. I want you to lift your head, to square your shoulders, to let the power within you rise like the sun after the longest night. You have been through storms before, and yet here you are. That is no accident. That is no small thing. That is the mark of a fighter, of a survivor, of someone who refuses to be defined by the weight of their troubles. There was a boy once, a boy who had been told his dreams were too big, his voice too loud, his hopes too high. The world told him to settle, to lower his gaze, to be realistic. But there was something in him that would not be tamed, something that burned too bright, that soared too high, that could not be contained. And so he did not listen. He dreamed anyway. He reached anyway. He climbed anyway. So he did not listen. He dreamed anyway. He climbed anyway. And when he finally stood at the top of the mountain they told him was impossible to climb, he did not gloat. He did not boast. He simply turned around, looked down at the path behind him, and whispered, I always knew I would make it. You too will make it. No matter what they say, no matter what they do, no matter how heavy the road may seem, you will make it. Because you are not built to break. You are not made to cower. You are not here to live small, to be silent, to let fear win. You are here to rise. There is a strength in you that no hardship can take away. There is a fire in you that no storm can extinguish. There is a power in you that no problem can outmatch. And when the world tells you to doubt it, when the road gets too hard, when the night gets too long, I want you to remember this. The river never forgets how to flow. The sun never forgets how to shine. And you will never forget how to rise. There was a man once who sat beneath the weight of all his failures, all his missteps, all the moments he wished he could rewrite. The world had been unkind, and life had pressed hard against his spirit. He had seen doors close, had heard voices whisper that he would never be enough, had felt the sting of loss so deep it seemed to settle in his bones. He had known darkness, not just around him, but within him, curling in the corners of his mind, telling him to stop, to give up, to surrender. But one day he did something small, so small the world did not notice. He lifted his head, just a little, just enough to see past the sorrow, and that was all it took. Because when he lifted his head, he saw something he had forgotten. The sky, endless, unshaken, unmoved by the troubles of man. He saw the birds soaring, the trees bending but never breaking, the river rushing forward no matter what lay in its path. And he realized something. The river does not stop for a fallen branch. The wind does not ask permission to blow. The sun does not wait for the world to be ready before it rises. And he too was not made to stop. He was made to move, to rise, to keep going, even when everything told him to quit. You know that feeling, don't you? That weight on your chest, that tightness in your throat, that exhaustion in your bones. You have stood at the crossroads of despair and hope, wondering which road to take. You have wrestled with doubt, with fear, with the gnawing voice that tells you it is easier to give in than to fight. But let me tell you something the world will not say aloud. Ease has never been the path to greatness. Surrender has never been the way to victory. The ones who rise are the ones who choose to rise. The ones who make it through the storm are the ones who refuse to bow to the wind. You have been through things that could have broken you, and yet here you are. You have felt pain that could have swallowed you whole, and yet you are still standing. Do not let that be lost on you. Do not let the weight of your problems make you forget the strength of your spirit. You are not the things that have tried to break you. You are not the wounds you carry. You are not the scars on your heart. You are something greater, something deeper, something that cannot be defined by mere struggle alone. There will be moments when you look around and see only loss. Moments when it seems like every road leads to nowhere, when every effort feels wasted, when every prayer feels unheard. In those moments, I want you to remember this: the seed beneath the soil does not know when it will break through. The caterpillar in the cocoon does not know when it will fly. The wave in the ocean does not know when it will reach the shore. And yet they all move forward. They all trust what they cannot see. They all continue because they know somewhere deep in the marrow of their existence that their story is not over yet. I have seen people walk through fire and come out stronger. I have seen hearts mend. I have seen dreams reborn. I have seen the impossible become possible simply because someone refused to stop believing. And that, my dear, is the lesson they do not teach in books, the wisdom they do not write in stone. Belief is the beginning of everything. If you believe you will rise, you will. If you believe you will make it through, you will. If you believe there is more ahead than there is. Because belief moves mountains before the hands even touch the rock. The road will not always be smooth. The battle will not always be fair. There will be days when you are tired, days when you question everything, days when the fight seems too great. But do not let those days define you. Do not let them convince you that the journey is not worth it. The mountain may be steep, but the view from the top is worth the climb. The night may be long, but the sunrise is worth the wait. The pain may be great, but the victory will be greater. There was a woman once, a woman who had lost her way. The world had chipped away at her piece by piece, had told her she was not enough, had drained her of her light. She had stopped believing in herself, had stopped seeing the beauty in her own reflection. But one day she caught a glimpse of something, a memory, a whisper of who she used to be before the world told her otherwise. And that whisper was enough. She stood up, slowly, carefully, as if testing the strength in her own bones. She walked to the mirror, looked herself in the eye, and for the first time in a long time, she saw something worth fighting for: herself. And so she fought. She fought the lies, the doubts, the wounds that had threatened to steal her away. She fought to love herself again, to trust herself again, to believe in herself again. And when she walked out into the world, she was not the same woman who had once been broken. No, she was someone new, someone unshaken, someone untouchable by the voices that had once made her small. That power, that strength, that fire, it is in you too. You may not see it yet, but it is there. It has always been there, waiting for you to claim it, waiting for you to stand up and say, I will not be defined by my struggles. I will not be defeated by my fears. I will not let the world tell me who I am, because I already know. And when you say those words, when you let them settle into your bones, something will shift. The fear will shrink. The doubt will fade. The weight will lift. And you will know, deep, unshakably know, that nothing is greater than the fire within you. So go ahead, take that step. Walk into the unknown with your head high and your spirit unbreakable. Face your battles with a certainty that you will not just survive, but thrive. Let the world see what resilience looks like, what power looks like, what courage looks like. And when they ask you how you did it, how you made it through, how you kept going when everything was against you, just smile, because you will know what they do not. There was a time when a woman sat by a window, staring out at a world that had turned its back on her. The wind howled through the cracks in the walls, and the weight of her burden sat heavy on her chest. She had given everything she had, and still it was not enough. She had loved, and she had lost. She had tried, and she had failed. And now she sat in the silence of her own thoughts, wondering if she had the strength to rise again. The world had moved on without her. People who once spoke her name had forgotten the sound of her voice. The dreams she had carried close to her heart had faded, worn down by the hands of time. But then something stirred inside her, a flicker, a whisper, a memory of a time when she had believed in more. And as she sat there, watching the sky stretch wide and open before her, she realized something. The world had not turned its back on her. No, the world was still here. The wind was still blowing. The sky was still vast. The sun was still rising. And if the world had not stopped moving, why should she? So she stood, slowly, carefully, as if testing the weight of her own existence. She placed one foot in front of the other, and as she moved, she felt something shift. The weight on her chest did not disappear, but it grew lighter. The silence did not vanish, but it became less lonely. The past did not rewrite itself, but it lost its power to hold her captive. And this is what I want you to understand. The world does not stop turning because you have been hurt. The sun does not refuse to rise because you are weary. The river does not cease to flow because you have lost your way. Everything around you keeps moving, not to leave you behind, but to remind you that forward is the only direction you were ever meant to go. You have known struggle, but struggle has not known victory over you. You have met failure, but failure has not erased your name. You have seen darkness, but darkness has never stolen your light, and it never will, because no matter what has happened, no matter how heavy the road has been, you are still here. And as long as you are here, as long as there is breath in your body, as long as there is even the smallest spark left in you, you are not done yet. They will try to tell you who you are. They will measure you by your past, by your mistakes, by the times you fell instead of the times you got back up. They will speak of you as if your story has already been written, as if your fate has already been decided. But listen to me. The only one who gets to decide how your story ends is you. And as long as you have the strength to turn the page, then the story is not over yet. You were never meant to live small. You were never meant to shrink yourself to fit into places that do not honor your light. You were never meant to be weighed down by burdens that were never yours to carry. You were meant to rise, to move, to keep going even when the road ahead is unclear. There was a boy once, a boy who had spent his whole life trying to be enough. He had walked with his head down, had spoken in hushed tones, had tried to make himself small so the world would not notice his pain. He had learned to expect less, to ask for less, to settle for less. And then one day he looked up. He met his own reflection in the glass of a window and saw something he had never truly seen before. Himself, not the version of himself that the world had shaped, not the one that had been taught to be quiet, to be afraid, to be careful. No, he saw the fire beneath his skin, the power in his bones, the strength in his spirit. And in that moment, he made a choice, a simple choice, a quiet choice. He chose himself. He chose to stand taller. He chose to speak louder. He chose to believe that he was worth more than the world had told him. You have that same choice before you, right here, right now. You can choose to see yourself as broken, or you can choose to see yourself as whole despite the cracks. You can choose to let fear lead, or you can choose to step forward anyway. You can choose to let the weight of your past define you, or you can choose to rewrite the story. The choice is yours, and the power has always been in your hand. Because there is something in you that refuses to quit. There is something in you that knows deep in the marrow of your bones that you are more than the sum of your struggles, that you are stronger than the weight on your shoulders, that you are destined for more than simply surviving. You have faced nights so long they seemed endless, but you have also seen dawn break through, spilling light where darkness once ruled. You have carried pain that felt unbearable, but you have also known joy so deep it made you forget the weight of your sorrow. You have lost, yes, but you have also loved. You have fallen, yes, but you have also risen. And that is what matters. Not the wounds, not the scars, not the battles you have fought, but the fact that you are still fighting. Not the pain you have known, but the strength you have found within it. Not the storms that have tried to break you, but the way you have danced in the rain and dared to keep moving forward. There was a man once who stood at the edge of his own existence, staring down at all he had lost, all he had suffered, all he had failed to become. He thought for a moment that he had reached the end, that there was nowhere left to go, nothing left to fight for. But then something in him whispered, soft at first, barely audible beneath the weight of his sorrow. So here you stand at the crossroads of choice and destiny, with the weight of your past behind you and the promise of tomorrow ahead. You have seen storms rage, but you have not been swept away. You have felt the sting of loss, but you have not been undone. You have walked through fire, and yet here you are, not consumed, but refined. The road will test you, but it will not break you. The night will come, but the dawn will follow. And when the world asks how you kept going, how you refused to bow, how you stood when everything tried to knock you down, you will smile, because you will know. You will know that nothing, no trial, no sorrow, no doubt was ever greater than the power within you. You were made to rise, to fight, to conquer, and rise you will.